Next audience question. Hey, George.
Good evening, candidates, and I want to say thank you to all of you for your commitment to run for City Council to help make Hermosa even a better little beach city. And thank you, Al, for putting this together. My concern is public safety, and I know it's a high priority that all of you have. And specifically, this is what I'm concerned about, and I'd like to know what you plan to do about it. The Hermosa Beach City Council has voted to outsource the fire department and will soon vote to outsource the ambulance service. The fire department is going from 5 paramedics on duty 24/7 to just 1 paramedic. With the outsourced ambulance service, that number will go to a grand total of 2 paramedics on duty 24/7 for 20,000 residents. This is an 80% reduction to our fire department paramedic staff that we currently have. But if you include the ambulance contractor, a 60% reduction by utilizing 2 different contractors. Now that's a significant decrease in service. Most calls for service are emergency medical services related, as we have very few working fires. This is a national trend. What would you do to increase the service level to at least what Hermosa used to have?
Thanks, George. Pete, you're next up.
Okay, thank you. I have to disagree with the figures that Mr. Barks just brought up, but I was on the Fire Advisory Committee that recommended to the council that we go with Los Angeles County, which is a worldwide known organization. In fact, they're down in Mexico and other cities helping rescue people as we speak. I don't believe that the call to service for emergencies is going to decrease in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I think it will increase, because currently, a lot of times when we have a call to service, our engine's over in El Segundo or another city, because we do auto aid and mutual aid with our 2 neighboring cities, Redondo and Manhattan. And the county will have an engine company here, and if that engine company is more than 30 minutes out of the station here, they will roll another unit in there to backfill that so we have continuous coverage. The ambulance service, one reason that it gets so expensive is what we call wall time. When our firefighters go to the hospital, they're not allowed to leave until they can get their gurney back, so they spend a tremendous amount of wall time there.
You can summarize.
And now with the county, they have a different system which will relieve our firefighters to come back to Hermosa, and the contract ambulance will be there with the gurney until they are relieved by the hospital. So I think we're going to see a vast improvement of services with the county, because they do have the resources. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Stacy?
All right. Thank you, George, for the question. The question is, how will we get back the level of service that we had? And I'll remind you that we had our resident committee look at this. They held multiple public meetings on this issue, and I would say the majority of them went into it not wanting to outsource our fire department because we didn't have all the facts. And I'd say most of our community probably felt that way. But they came back to us and unanimously recommended that we outsource to the LA County Fire. Our EPAC unanimously recommended it, our fire department unanimously recommended it, and our council unanimously approved it. It's going to be an increased level of service for our community. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had all of those groups agree on this issue. And I truly believe we will have unparalleled service like we've never seen in Hermosa for fire service and ambulance service. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Matt?
Thank you, Al. As Stacy had mentioned, I also was on the Emergency Preparedness Commission, and we all voted unanimously to go with LA County Fire. My decision was a little bit different than what the mainstream decision was, but basically, I agree with you that we do have five paramedics, and now we're going down to one. But the situation should be a wake-up call for the community that we need to make public safety a higher priority. We let our fire service get to a point where we could no longer successfully recruit firefighter paramedics to come here. I don't think we ever really had a choice between trying to save our fire department and going with LA County. I think the decision was pretty obvious that we had to go with LA County. As far as LA County, I have many friends that work with LA County. They're a world-class organization. I can't say enough good things about them, but you have to understand, there was at one point that we were actually having, I believe it was McCormick or Gerber was coming in here subsidizing our firefighter paramedics because these guys had been overworked and they needed time off. So at the end, I completely support this 100%.
Thanks, Matt. Mary?
While I was not directly on the inside of this process, certainly I'd say without any exception, everybody that I have heard from and spoken with was in support of this move. So in the sake of expediency, I think I won't add to what's been said, but I will say I think it's unfortunate that there might be a perception that our service was down when we will go down or needs to be replaced when we're not there yet. Now, certainly this new contract will need to be managed and will need to be evaluated closely. I'm sure there's every intention of doing that, but I know that when I sat through the orientation for City Council election, that the fire chief himself sat there and said, this is going to be so good for us. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Mary. You know what, we're going to take a 10-minute recess. We got 2 more city council candidates will answer this question, and then any questions after the recess, we'll answer those questions. So 10-minute recess.
What, Hannah, you gonna go and me go on this question? Yeah, okay.
After we come back.
Can we get the video back on? We have 2 more people answering this question, and that will be Haney and Trent. And then at the end of that question, we'll take a 10-minute recess. So Haney?
Thank you, Al. Just for the record, I would have been just as happy to answer it after the break. My answer would not have changed. I probably would have cheated from somebody if I took a break. The break would have been nice, but so on that question, I think, thank you, George, for the question, and we've heard you speak a lot about the fire services, and you have a lot of experience in it, which I appreciate. However, as Pete Tucker mentioned, I disagree with you on the facts. I have attended, obviously, meetings where our fire chief has addressed this issue, and I've actually spoken to him as recently as today about this issue. And his explanation is contrary to what you just said, is that with the LA County Fire Department, we will have 1 paramedic on the engine, we will have 2 paramedics on the rescue, and we will have 2 emergency medical technicians on the engine. That's 5 people that have medical training. They're not all paramedics, but you have 3 paramedics and 2 emergency medical technicians on the engine. How much experience do you need for somebody like, if somebody has a medical emergency? I think that's pretty much handled. The other thing that he also mentioned is that LA County, as we all know, has thousands of paramedics working around the clock in various areas, including cities that are close to us here. So if our unit is away, it could either be replaced immediately or we'll have other resources available. He provided, again, several presentations to the council. I think some of them you've attended and spoken to. We also have, from our community citizens group who all supported the transition. We have our firefighters themselves that all unanimously supported the transition. I think it's the right thing to do. On the ambulance, just so I'm being totally transparent, I voted against contracting out the ambulance service because my preference would have been that the city retain that, so that the city retain more control, because I have a feeling that the ambulance services has been monopolized. There's really only one company in the South Bay now can probably do this work, and bidding that out is not really a good option when you bid somebody out when they know that they're the only ones that can do it. So my preference would have been to maintain that locally, but I was on the 1 to 4 position, so we will contract this out. And hopefully when that service is contracted out in conjunction with the LA County Fire, we will get a better service than we're getting today.
Thanks, Haney. Trent?
This is one of these subjects that really gets me my blood boiling, so to speak, because this is something that definitely we took our eye off the ball. We did not put Hermosa first by letting the fire department go. Now, it is that it got in such bad shape that we probably had to do it, but think about it. Our firehouse was condemned. What kind of a fire chief lets his building be condemned when he's there every day? Honestly, we let this go. We did not put Hermosa Beach first. And now we're going to put the residents at risk because we have to go to the county. Now, this is not saying the county people are not good people and they're not good fire department people. They are. They're fine people. And I'm sure they're going to try their hardest to do a great job. I am confident of that. And hopefully we get to rebuild our firehouse so that we can use it. But what I am dismayed about is that it's a central service to the city, ambulatory care, responding to emergencies, and we let it get to a point where it was not working anymore. Our people were overworked. They say, well, the people were overworked. We didn't have the money. We couldn't do this. Well, that's just not acceptable to me as an excuse for 20 years over and over and over again. Nobody I know in private sector would have let that happen for that long a time. They would have made changes quicker. And so I believe that it's something that we should take a lesson from and learn from.